Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Commodity TV for you out of our studio here in Herisau in Switzerland. And with me here is for the first time Stewart Dickson, the non-executive director of Trans-Siberian Gold. Yeah, a lovely and interesting gold producer out of Russia. And yeah, we want to get an insight into the company. Welcome and thanks for taking the time, Stewart.
Delighted to be back in Switzerland.
Yeah, fantastic that you are here, especially the first time at Commodity TV. Maybe you give us a short overview on the company, please.
Of course. We're thrilled to be here, particularly because we have a very exciting company to tell people about. We are the owners and operators of the Asacha gold mine, which is located in Kamchatka, which is the far east of Russia. So we're talking about the same time zone as New Zealand.
Well, Jesus, that's really far away.
It's a 9-hour flight from Moscow.
Yeah.
But we have a very high-grade underground mine there. So we are talking about a 20 grams per ton resource base there.
Wow.
And we, in the last year, have produced 42,000 ounces of gold at the mine.
Yeah. And that's an underground mine, right?
Correct. Yeah.
How deep you are going?
So we're still a shallow gold mine, around 200 meters deep. So it's just a very simple decline.
So big question, maybe, why do you do it as an underground? Because I was asked, funny enough, 2 days ago from somebody who knew your company, and he said, well, why don't they go open pit? Why do they go underground? Is it because of the vein system?
Yes, that's right. The mining plan is very much dictated by the high quality ore body which we have. We are an epithermal deposit. So this is volcano country. So we're talking about large hydrothermal activities which produces very high grade epithermal veins. So we're talking about 4 meter wide veins, as I said, of around 20 grams per ton in the resource base. So that lends itself to being very accurate in how you mine. So you don't spend a lot of time mining ore which is not gold bearing, so hence why we have an underground deposit. Okay,
fantastic. So that means you limit dilution, you bring down dilution, of course. So how do you extract the ore? Is it very complicated? Is it a standard method? How do you do that?
It's a very simple off-the-shelf process which we have. We mine via conventional sub-level stoping techniques. We shift the ore back to surface. As I said, it's not very deep. And then we blend the ore currently to make sure we have an optimized feed into the mill.
What would be a maximum grade you can feed when it makes really sense?
So the mill can take up to about 14 grams per ton before the efficiency starts to decline.
Yeah.
We run the mill at full capacity and have run over capacity for a number of years now, and it's proved more than capable to handle that. And then through the mill, it's a very simple crush grind, CIL plant, and then we're into the liberation via that, and a very simple doré bar is produced on site.
That would be my next question. Yeah, perfect. So it's not concentrated; it's a doré bar.
Correct.
So that's also easy to ship. How do you do that? You truck it or you fly it out, and to whom do you sell it? And how does it work with the, let's say, money wise? Because that's what is of interest for investors, of course. Yeah,
of course. So it's again very simple. We produce the doré at site. We then fly it out by Mi-8 helicopters, which are able to handle the extreme weather conditions and the distances. It's flown to a refinery in Krasnoyarsk, and then we receive the cash normally within 48 hours. And we
receive dollar cash you receive, right?
It's dollar revenue and ruble costs, so there's a very interesting arbitrage there.
Different trade-off, yeah.
And we typically get about a 0.1% discount to spot. So so the gold price that people see on the screen is broadly what we get in terms of revenue.
Fantastic. I mean, Russia, of course, it's a country, let's say, which is sometimes a little bit strange handled in the mass media, I would call. I think it's a terrific company. I have a lot of Russian friends also. How does it work to get the money out of the country? Because you are a UK-listed company, of course. Yeah. So that means you have to repatriate the money because you are paying dividends. Can you elaborate a bit on that? Or have you faced any problems?
So Russia is not a new country for us to be operating, and we've been operating in there for 15 years or more now. And our
investment. You have a Russian team, right?
We have it's a fully or indigenous team, so we do not fly in, fly out expats. This is Russian people doing business in Russia, so they know how it works. We also have the benefit of a large major shareholder who have a proven track record of investing in Russia for over 20 years. So we have the connectivity, we have the skill set. It's core competency for us operating in Russia. Russia. And to answer your question directly about how do we repatriate the capital, we use the conventional banking systems, and you know, we manage our capital flows both in country and internationally very carefully. So we kind of repatriated money from Russia through Moscow back to London very simply using the normal banking systems.
Super. Fantastic. So no problems, no difficulties, everything is fine, as it should be in the international money flow, I would call it.
Yes, it's normal business for us.
Perfect. You pay dividends. Dividends is the new interest, I call it, in a negative interest world, right?
Sure.
So how does it work with your dividend? Do you have like a fixed policy, like a fixed amount? What dividends have you paid in the past? What is the yield currently on your stock?
So we're very pleased to have paid $19.5 million in dividends over the last 3 years. We are very clear that our dividend policy is to pay out what we can afford when we can afford it. And that allows us to manage very carefully the things we can control, and as a gold mining company, some of the things that we can't control. So we normally pay dividends now 3 times a year, so around our interims, our financial results, and then we try and make an additional special payment when the cash flow cycle allows us to do that.
Super. Wow, that's fantastic. And the yield today is, what is like 6%? Was that correct? Something
yes,
like
around that. We've had some share price appreciation.
That's a lot.
Which is we have for the last since we've been paying dividends had the highest dividend yield and the highest payout ratio amongst our London listed gold producer peers.
Fantastic. That speaks for itself, I would say. Also, you are not a new company. You are long term already in the game, I would call it.
Yes.
Yeah, you're a long term producer. Can you elaborate a little bit? What will be, let's say, the next foreseeable future? What is the game plan? Because you have a single asset. I saw in your presentation there's also some other assets you might start to explore also for the future. Maybe can you give us a picture about the next 2-3 years, I would call it?
Yes. So Asacha has been in operation for 8 years now, and is stable, steady state production of around 40 to 45,000 ounces. And what we really want to do now is to explore the local potential of this area really aggressively, because it has been underexplored both locally and regionally. And we're already seeing some very interesting targets, some very interesting results coming back from that work. We expect that to ramp up. We'll be bringing on vein 25, which is in our east zone of the project, into our production profile in the next 6 to 12 months. We're very excited about that. That is a 21 grams per ton ore body as well. So another high grade mine coming into to provide high grade ore into the mill. And we've also begun to look at other assets around the area, and that's evidenced by us acquiring Rodnikova earlier this year.
How far is that away from?
So that's 50 kilometers.
Well, it's like trucking distance easily.
We believe so.
Yeah.
We're in the process of evaluating that asset very carefully, and we're producing a scoping study by the end of the year. And again, just to give a context, we've already got a Russian classification of 1 million ounces on that at around 5 grams per ton. We'll be converting that into JORC so that people can convert that into comparables, and also can see really what our true resource inventory looks like as a company as we move forward. So we'll be bringing on vein 25 into our production profile. We'll be bringing on Rodnikova potentially in about 2 years' time. But if we can fast track it, we will.
Of course, it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely, especially in a rising gold price environment. Yeah, that's for sure. Could you imagine to do, let's say, M&A in Africa or South America?
It's a question we get asked a lot. Russia is risky, and
I think it's not risky, by the way, but I think it's a super mining regime.
We're very comfortable with Russia, as I said, and it's the world's 3rd largest gold producing country. So we're in the right address. Definitely. And we look at M&A very closely, and particularly we're seeing now opportunities presenting themselves as a producer, established producer with both equity and debt facilities should we need. Looking at really the developers who are still struggling to find finance, and that would present an opportunity where we could come in, provide strategic capital, strategic know-how to bring on additional asset. And Russia for us is core competency, as I said earlier, so we feel very comfortable staying in that region. And we feel particularly Kamchatka has an enormous regional potential. We have looked more widely in Russia. We have a very clear evaluation matrix of what we're looking for. The fact that we haven't done a big corporate transaction evidence how choosy we are.
Fantastic. I saw also in your presentation that you have one really main shareholder, UFG, with 77% approximately.
Sure.
You have done a share buyback. Can you elaborate a bit for our viewers what that means, what might happen with the shares? And I know it's still pure speculation, of course, we have to be careful. That's a forward-looking statement. But what might be ideas you are discussing, I would call it. Let's put it that way.
So as I said, UFG have been a long-term investor in the company, very supportive both in terms of equity and debt, and add a lot of value also because of their experience operating in Russia over a number of years. But we recognize and they recognize that owning 70%, more than 70% of a company is probably not in the best interests of both the company and themselves. So the share buyback was really a first step to look at how we could begin to reorder our shareholder base and provide them with a very managed, carefully managed partial exit, very small exit, and also bring in new people into the register. So what we did there is the company bought back 23 million shares at a substantial discount to the current market price, and that was a function of a number of things. So we have those on the in Treasury right now. And at the same time, we also had management participation, buying some shares, and also bringing in a German fund who took about 5% of. So that's the first step. In terms of what we do with the Treasury shares, well, we've got an embarrassment of choices here. And as we very clearly articulated in some of our public statements, we have choices about how we deal with them, either cancel them and improve the dividend per share ratio, or we could reissue them at a new price, bring new investors into the stock, or we could use them as scrip dividends or maybe an M&A currency. So what it means...
Lots of possibilities.
Yeah, what it means is lots of possibilities, lots of choices, and being very disciplined about capital allocation.
Yeah. And if I got that right, just as a final thing, you are willing to pay also as much as high dividend in the future, right?
Yeah,
what is possible?
We look at a sustainable dividend, and that's really what we really want to be, is a sustainable dividend company. So we've tried to match our dividend to our free cash flow and our other capital commitments. So we're not, we have been very aggressive because we've been able to be. If we need to be a bit more cautious, we will be. It's about being responsible. But we see the dividends being a core part of our investment thesis continuing into the future.
Fantastic. Well, Stewart, thank you very much. It was a great insight.
My pleasure.
All the best for you. And we look forward to more dividends and, of course, then to the next drill results, because I think there's some news flow in the next weeks coming up, right?
Yes, we have interim dividends, interim results next week. We also have some quarterly production data in October, and we also have, as I said, the resources coming out on Sacha and Rodnikova probably later in the year. And then we've got some other news in the pipe. So we're very excited about the future.
So lots is going on. That's good. Great. Thank you very much. All the best for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, there was Stewart Dickson, the non-executive director of Trans-Siberian Gold. Yeah, you heard it. Company is doing extremely well, producing approximately 40 to 45,000 ounces a year, paying high dividends. The yield currently is over 6%. And also they have done a big share buyback. So we see what happens there. Could be a special dividend or for M&A purposes, we will see. And they have also very, very stable and good institutional shareholder base. And of course, the company has a longer mine life, for sure, for the next 5 to 6 years. That's foreseeable, but they are putting a lot of money into exploration. And also they have already started to get new projects for the future. And I think it's worthwhile to have a look into that. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.